I look at Texas as this team. Should it be a college football playoff run? Should it be winning the Big 12? There's a lot of things that I think people are curious about in terms of what is this team going to do? We make jokes about is Texas back? And that is the question, but it's just a matter of what does Texas have to answer? It's tough to look at Texas as an underdog, but at the same time, they've also underachieved. So I don't know where you put them in that spectrum of underdog versus a team that's just not as good as they should be. And you kind of fit that underdog role, but at the same time, you have higher expectations. And this year, Texas has huge expectations for this season. And you're looking at a team with a schedule that bodes well for them to make a college football playoff, assuming that they can win most of those games, if not all of them. Now, you're going to have to beat some tough Big 12 competition that you've proven that you can't necessarily beat on a consistent basis. That's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, the game against Alabama is the big one, especially because it's on the road. However, if Texas finds a way to win that game, now you're looking at a team that has everything in front of them. Everything that they want is attainable. It's achievable. There's nothing else in the non-conference schedule that is scary. And then when you get to Big 12 play, you know what you're getting, and you're still getting most of these teams. You're getting a couple of the new teams, but you're still getting most of the teams that you're familiar with. So that you get the first three games of Big 12 play might be some of the toughest games that they'll play all year, outside of obviously the Alabama game. So at Baylor, Baylor is a team that's interesting because I don't think they're as talented as they once were in the past, but it's still a Dave Aranda defense that they have to navigate. Steve Sarkisian will have his hands full, and I think that there is some talent still on this Baylor squad, but it's just a matter of are they going to be able to make things work? Are they going to be able to beat that defense and look impressive enough to have them to build enough confidence for the rest of the Big 12 play? Now, Kansas, I wish that this wasn't a joke for Texas, but unfortunately, with your struggles in the past against Kansas, this is a Kansas team that is also much better. You have to take them seriously. Lance Leipold is building a great program in Kansas already, and in terms great as in where they're headed. If they keep going where I think Leipold can take them, you're looking at a team that's going to be fun to watch down the road. Now, obviously, things will be different when the Big 12 loses both Oklahoma and Texas, but that's a big reason why this year is so important for Texas. Then you get the game against Oklahoma. Everybody knows how big that is. We don't need to dive into the importance of that game. Then you get a couple weeks off before you head to Houston. Now, Houston fans will say that they are ready for Texas, but this is a Texas team that is supremely talented compared to Houston. This is not a Houston team that belongs on the same field with Texas, and they need to prove that. And it's going to be a game that isn't a statement game, but it's just a reminder of how far some of these teams have to go. BYU is the next week, another team that isn't in the same category as Texas. They will showcase that. They should be able to prove exactly why. Now, this final stretch, the final month for Texas is very interesting. Kansas State is a team that competed and won the Big 12 championship last year. This is the defending champs, but again, Texas should be on a different level than Kansas State. TCU coming off of the national championship loss, Texas should be a better team than TCU this year. I think that TCU had all the right pieces in place. They were able to figure things out, and they had a Big 12 that took steps back, especially Texas and Oklahoma. So that obviously helps too. I think that Texas should be much better than TCU this year. Iowa State. Now, a trip to Iowa State always provides some entertainment, mostly for the casual college football fan, because Iowa State is a very tough place to play, and Texas is not a team in recent memory has thrived in those situations. Look at the Kansas games they played. Iowa State, that is these are the teams that they're maybe going to struggle with, but if this is a Texas team that is destined to be in the college football playoff, it won't be that much of a struggle. If they do struggle, they're going to figure out a way to win that game and pull away late. Texas Tech to end the year, maybe a game that's not as difficult as you might think, or maybe it's not, depending on what Texas Tech looks like. But this is a Texas team, once again, that is much better than Texas Tech. And then at that point, if you find a way to navigate this schedule and win them all, you obviously have to play in the Big 12 championship game. Who that's against will be interesting to see. But then you have a chance to play in the college football playoff. And I really like the talent level that Steve Sarkisian has brought to Texas, has kept in Texas, and when you look at what this team could be, what their ceiling could be, national championship should be on that list. A big reason why they should be a national championship contender is the talent level that we mentioned, but specifically the offense that is coming back. Now, obviously, you have to play defense too, but it's really exciting to see what Texas has coming back, and that is when you lose, including when you lose Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson. You look at Quinn Ewers is coming back. Now, does Quinn Ewers have some things to figure out? Yes, the overthrows, the inaccuracy, accurate throws, those are things that he will have to get fixed when it comes to the 2023 season for them to win out. But this is a guy who can fix those things, who can get the job done. And you look at the talent around him. Xavier Worthy is an absolute stud. Now, drops were a concern here. So there are things that everybody needs to work on. But if you take steps forward, this is a Texas team that's very dangerous. Jatavian Sanders, one of the best, if not the best tight end in college football this year. Very, very underrated talent, in my opinion. I don't think more enough people are talking about him. And when you look at the talent around them, this is just the start. You look at Jordan Whittington's coming back. You get Adonai Mitchell from the transfer portal. Now, the running back position is very interesting too. Jonathan Brooks is a name that everybody's been talking about. That's a group that can be extremely explosive. The offensive line should be very good as well. It's really exciting for Longhorns fans because you're getting a team that has the talent level to win at a high level, and you have the ability to compete with some of the best teams in the country. You look at the Alabama game we mentioned before. That is a team that has a ton of talent. They're maybe going to need some time to figure things out. Texas may not need that because you have a lot of these key pieces returning, especially on offense. Now, a trip to Alabama, to Tuscaloosa, creates a potential challenge that you haven't seen before. But with the amount of talent, the amount of experience you have returning on offense, that shouldn't be too much of a concern. Now, when you flip over to the defensive side of the ball, this is where things get interesting because Texas, obviously, Texas has enough talent to be one of the best defenses in college football. It's just a matter of getting them to that point. Now, Sark will focus on the offense and get this team to put up points in a hurry, but can the defense make enough of an impact to win football games, to when the offense is struggling against some of those teams that maybe you see? We talked about the Iowa State game. That is a game where the atmosphere is very different than what you're used to seeing. So can the defense do its part? Can the defense create turnovers? Can they give this offense momentum to be able to win football games that maybe you're not playing at your best? You're going to need a balanced attack, and you're going to need to put up points with some of those turnovers going back to the offense and giving them more chances to put points up on the board. This is a team that, again, national championship should be the expectation when you look at what they have returning, what they have in terms of a schedule. There's not much that should be surprising. There shouldn't be too many things that you have to figure out. And if you have to figure it out, you know exactly what needs to happen. You need to create opportunities for players to step up. You need to find players to replace key positions, specifically at running back. Even you look at the defensive side of the ball, defensive line is going to be something you need to find talent to step up and replace some of the guys that are lost. But I think this is a different era for Steve Sarkisian, a different era for Texas, not something that maybe you're used to seeing, and something that in the past you were expecting this team to take a step forward, but it just came down to they couldn't execute on the field. It feels like this Texas team is ready to make that transition to be able to put talent and turn it into production. And if Texas can do that, this is a team that's very dangerous in college football and a team that should and can compete for a national championship.